This episode of Startalk is brought to you by CuriosityStream. Hey, YouTuberverse! Neil deGrasse Tyson here. Coming up is an episode of Startalk where we tackle the science of pop fiction. This is Startalk. I'm your host, Neil deGrasse Tyson, your personal astrophysicist, and this is a Cosmic Queries edition on science in pop fiction. Ooh, what does that mean? I got my resident geek-in-chief with me, Charles Liu. Charles, welcome back to Startalk.
What a pleasure.
You're like
to
such
be
a
here.
regular on this show because there's certain categories of expertise that you just plug that hole and we just sit back and enjoy.
I live to serve. Thank you for having
There
me.
he goes. And Chuck Nice.
That's right.
As always, dude.
That's right. Always a pleasure to be here, man.
All right. So we solicited questions.
We have
on science
solicited
in pop fiction.
In pop fiction. So it's
Pop
movies,
fiction's what?
Television, maybe comic books.
So it could be superheroes.
Could be superheroes.
Could be just sci-fi.
Could be sci-fi.
Fantasy.
Right.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
Whoever's putting science in their fiction, we're going to talk about.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
I think of pop fiction as the kind of fiction that you would watch while eating popcorn.
Okay.
So pretty much anything else.
Pop fiction.
pop
fiction.
fiction.
Porn.
Popcorn.
Okay.
There
Works
you
for
go.
me.
That's right.
All right. So Chuck, what do you have?
All right. You can call me Charles if you'd like.
And you can call me Chuck.
Yeah. We're interchangeable.
In fact, you were Chuck in college,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
You were Chuck in college?
I'm still Chuck now. It's just
By the way,
who
I
else
was
to
Chuck
call
in
me.
high school.
Awesome.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
How were you Chuck in high school?
I hung out with a couple of friends who noticed that I was always jovial and I...
Who? Peppermint Patty?
What
the hell?
Pigpen? No, it was they noticed that I chuckled a lot. And so they had their own nickname for me that no one else had. And it was Chuck, which was short for Chuckles.
Oh, how cute.
And then it ended after high school.
All right.
Aw.
Cool.
Not
Oh,
that I
Chuck.
didn't stop laughing, but no one really cared.
Right.
Wow.
And then you became Dr. Hibbert.
So we really have three Chucks.
We're Chuck.
Chuck, and Chuck. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck? All right, here we go. This we always start with a Patreon patron because they support us financially, and we're whores. So this is from this is from Mike Walteret on Patreon, and this is what he says: on shows like The Orville and many others, they often communicate with people light years away. They never explain how they do it. Maybe there's a wire that passes through a tiny wormhole to connect Earth. What I'm wondering, though, is if they were able to reliably share the same sense of time for the duration of their conversation, would one of them sound like a chipmunk and the other sound like they're in slow motion? What other weird effects might occur?
That's a great
That's
question.
a really great question.
Because, we're so distracted by, that wouldn't make noise in the vacuum of space.
Right.
And this person thinking deep
Yes, he is.
about conversations. We have this issue with communicating with the Mars rover.
Right.
The Mars rover.
What's the delay on the Mars
It's
rover?
on average about 20 minutes.
So is it? So you
You're just like,
hello?
watch out for the cliff, and it's
Right.
too late.
So you got to make sure. Watch out for the cliff. Jesus.
That's why the rovers all have some kind of AI on them to
Right.
know where they're headed and how dangerous it might be,
Right.
regardless of what command we give them.
Yeah, because it's like having a lousy parent at the playground. You know what I mean? It's
So let's say, clearly they're communicating with people much farther away than just Earth to Mars.
Right.
So I'm thinking it's got to be some wormhole channel. Charles, you got an opinion about that?
In Star Trek specifically, there is this construct called subspace.
Yeah.
Which transcends regular space and time. And basically anything that happens in subspace, you can just assume works just as if you and I were next door to each other or in the same room.
in real time.
Yes. But that completely doesn't affect the entire rest of space and time. It's really a
very
false,
convenient.
entertaining, convenient construct.
It'd be cool if that were the thing, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Right. It would. And perhaps someday that will be discovered.
But if that were the case,
Wait. So, so Verizon Fios, eat your heart out. Okay.
The problem, of course, is that if you can have this transluminal communication, you really mess up causality. You can really have an issue. Like, let's say I somehow am magically able to tell that Mars rover, watch out for the cliff, in instantaneous time. And then the rest of the signal, where somebody else is watching that rover, it takes 20 minutes for us to see that rover avoided the cliff. And so you're really turning into a strange opportunity to twist what's causing what, who's causing things, and all of physics starts to break down under those circumstances. So superluminal communication, or faster than light communication, is approximately as challenging as faster than light travel to our ability to understand how physics works.
And in fact, this is just the movement of information. Has tremendous consequences if not done according to the universe in which we have laid down our laws of physics.
Right.
But is there a coherent set of laws of physics that will allow superluminal communication and not mess things up?
At the moment, no.
So let's say
we're waiting for someone else to be born.
Pretty much.
Einstein Jr. Take us to the next step.
Little Einstein. Right.
Yeah. Well, so the comments about whether or not you sound like a chipmunk or you talk really slowly is
at low frequency.
Yes,
you
is
can
valid.
Speak slowly at a high frequency.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can speak slowly at the high frequency. Sorry. But the idea is,
my favorite scene ever was in what's that Riding Hood movie? Little Red Riding Hood movie? Hoodwinked. In Hoodwinked. The chipmunk. No one understood the chipmunk. The chipmunk said, and you just think, it's being a cute little chipmunk.
Right.
And then the detective says, I think I know what's going on here. He records the chipmunk, and then plays it back in slow motion, plays it back, and it says, I was witness to what happened. It's this slow, deliberate, low-frequency voice that's translating the chipmunk. But
right. So that kind of effect is what we call the Doppler effect.
Right.
Especially the Doppler effect for sound. And Neil, you and I understand that very well. Just when we're out on the streets in New York and the ambulance goes by or something like that.
No, they go by too slowly to have any Doppler effect at all.
Well, in New York they do. Yeah.
In rush hour.
It's the one stuck in traffic.
Right.
Right.
I always
no Doppler effect.
Every time I see an ambulance in New York, I'm like, that guy's dead.
Chuck.
I'm just saying. It's like sitting at a light for 20 minutes. Woo! Woo!
It's behind you. Nobody knows how to move.
And nobody's moving, and it's trapped on the street. It's just, all right, sorry. Go ahead.
You need drones to carry these folks.
Right, so if you're going through a wormhole, you're not having these Doppler effects.
That's
and so you're not going to have frequency
dynamic,
changes or anything.
If you're close to a black hole, sort of like in the movie Interstellar, you do have things change in terms of light and sound and those kinds of things. But in order to really predict what's happening in terms of superluminal communications, I think we are well beyond normal science as we understand it now. And like the Orville, we're totally in fiction.
Okay.
All right. Hey,
Next
Mike, what a great question, man. Way to go. All right, let's go to Chris Mangrum from Facebook.
So we're done with the Patreon.
Yeah, for now. We'll get back to him. Get back to him. I don't want to be that much of a whore, Buy me dinner first. No.
Come on, man.
Here we go. This is Chris Mangrum from Facebook who says, have you ever watched a superhero sci-fi movie that hadn't made you cringe? And if so, what was it? I think that let's frame that positively. Is there a superhero or sci-fi movie that you have watched and appreciated the amount of science that was built in and the level of science accuracy? So that's really what this. I think, Chris, that's right, really what you're saying.
Right. You just put a positive.
Yeah, I'm putting it positive in a positive frame.
Yeah. Let's trade off. Okay. Give me a movie, and I'll give you a movie, and we'll go down the list.
Okay.
Until we cry.
All right. in terms of movies, superhero movies, that maybe we can do like how long did it take before I started to cringe or something like that.
Okay.
Right? The movie that made me cringe least. It was interesting. The 1966 Batman movie.
The original Batman?
No. That's the one we had shark repellent in a spray can.
Right. That was also the one where they all became powder?
Yes.
And then they used the United Nations. They used heavy water to bring them back?
That's right.
And they went, and they're identical to each other except they're speaking each other's languages.
Right. Which, by the way, is almost as believable as the Tower of Babel. Anyway, go ahead.
The reason I did not cringe at that one is because
wait. What fraction of our audience even have seen that movie?
Well, you didn't ask me.
You got to be like 80 years old to have seen that movie.
No. I know that on college campuses, on many college campuses, there's the annual watching of the Batman movie.
Gotcha. Okay, fine.
So holy AARP Batman.
Yeah. Okay.
Wheel me closer to the screen.
Robin, I do believe that man stole my walker.
So my cringing was okay. I even allowed there to have been shark repellent in a spray can.
Yes.
Okay, this is pre.
But there was bat manta repellent and there was eel repellent, whatever it was.
Here's my thing. Mm-hmm. My issue was, how big is his utility belt to just always happen to have shark repellent?
He didn't have the bat shark repellent on him at that time. It was in the vehicle. It was in the Batcopter. And the shark was attached to the Batman's leg as he was coming up on the rope ladder. And he said, "Quick, Robin, hand me the bat shark repellent." And so from the cabinet that had the bat shark repellent, bat manta ray repellent, bat whatever repellent,
he repellent for each kind of bad aquatic.
It's like a spice rack of repellents.
And he grabbed the thing and then sprayed it, and then they fell down and then exploded.
Okay, I thought it came from his utility belt. Okay, so now explain.
So the reason it wasn't cringeworthy for me is because I knew that it was totally goofy to begin with. Right. Okay. And in a sense, I prefer movies of that genre that don't take themselves too seriously.
Like Mars Attacks.
Yes. If they're obviously messed up, then I don't really worry too much about how they. What bothers me. Yeah.
That's Mars Attacks. I'm sorry.
Was that really?
That's my Mars Attacks.
The aliens just say ack, ack, and they were destroyed only by. Oh, should we spoil the movie?
I don't know if you should do that.
No, let's not spoil the movie. But it turns out something.
You worried about spoiling Mars Attacks?
Yeah, something completely unexpected saves the world.
Now the kids have something to go look at. Mars. Go look at it, kid.
So in that vein,
right?
My movie where I just said, okay, I am leaving all
reality behind,
no matter what, suspending all disbelief.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Yes, Attack of the Killer
Tomatoes.
All right.
Okay. So the tomatoes just jumping and smothering people, and I said, okay.
Oh my God, I'm dying by deliciousness.
It was like, okay, I'll give it to them, right? And but
my only regret is I still don't know if you're a fruit or a vegetable.
Yep.
All right.
Same kind of genre. Okay. For current actual, say, Marvel, DC, Disney, whatever.
For real superhero.
Right. For current universe superhero things, the least cringeworthy sci-fi superhero movie that I've actually seen is Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
And the reason that doesn't cringe me, is that a verb, to cringe?
You just made it one.
An active verb. I mean, I cringe, but like to cringe somebody.
You made it an active verb.
Okay, all right. The reason it doesn't is because it's all magic. Because the premise of the movie is that none of this is science anyway. Or as, say, Reed Richards. Right, as Reed Richards would say on his, the Fantastic Four comic series, he regularly would say, I acknowledge.
Now, the comic series.
Well, that is the only real series. Okay, this cinematic universe stuff, that's all well and good.
It's icing on a cake
it's all
that
well
was
and
baked
good.
in
That's
the comic strips.
We know what the canon actually comes from. Yes, he acknowledges, he's like the greatest scientist in the world, right? But he says, I acknowledge that science, that magic is a science I do not yet understand.
He did say that.
That's right.
Yes.
And so as a result.
So did Princess Bubblegum, by the way. I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
And what movie was that?
Well, it's not a movie; it's a series.
Oh,
it's called Adventure Time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the one where they don't have elbows?
Yeah, that's Adventure Time. They don't.
Yeah.
They're like little noodle arms. Like noodle arms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But all she says is basically science. I mean, magic is just science unexplained. Or it's science you don't understand.
And of course, as Arthur C. Clarke said, right?
Yes. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from
science. Oh, from magic.
So, no, from science. No.
Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yes.
Good. Magic. Now, I don't mean to boast. Ooh. Okay, you can line up for autographs later.
Okay.
But I have a cameo in Sharknado 6.
Excellent.
And I play Merlin.
Oh, wait, I can't tell you.
I play Merlin.
Ooh.
Oh, this is the plot line takes you back to medieval times.
Okay.
I play Merlin. There's a time warp that opens in the vortex.
Of course there is.
Okay.
I mean,
and the sharks, as they go through the vortex, they end up crossbreeding in this vortex with dragons. And so you have shark dragon tornadoes back then. Okay.
Wow.
Shark dragon nados. And I play Merlin performing actual science that everyone thinks is magic.
Because
Nice.
you're still a scientist.
Because I'm a scientist, and I was true to my roots.
Now, you
in
do
that.
realize that you can say no to these projects.
Okay, Mom. We got to bring this segment to a close. That was a great question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
had
a great
fun with that one.
Yeah.
When we come back, more on Star Talk, where we're talking about the science of pop fiction. When we return.
If you like science fiction, and who doesn't like science fiction? You've probably seen sci-fi fandom communities. Well, CuriosityStream has an excellent documentary about the subculture of female fans. In Phenomenon, you'll follow a woman behind a group of dedicated fans to John Shepard from Stargate Atlantis. She is on her quest to meet the actor behind the character. Watch as she meets up with other fellow fangirls and see if she gets a chance to meet the man of her TV dreams. They also get into the economics of fandom, and you'll be amazed with how much money is spent on these things. Subscribe to CuriosityStream now to watch. It's just $2.99 per month, and for Star Talk fans, the first 31 days are completely free if you sign up at curiositystream.com/StarTalk and use promo code StarTalk. You'll get unlimited access to the world's top documentaries and nonfiction series with CuriosityStream. Sign up now.
We're back on Star Talk Cosmic Queries, the science of pop fiction. And we have decided, with the help of Charles Liu, my friend and colleague, and resident geek expert, what do we call him? Geekspertise.
Our Geekspertise.
Yes. He's our resident geek in chief.
Right.
There it is. That these are things you might watch while eating popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
Pop fiction.
Made in your science oven.
By the way, I think popcorn is one of the most extraordinary foods ever.
Right.
How many things do you say, gee, I want to turn that inside out,
Right.
and then
eat it. Just every cow I see. I mean, but that's just me.
No, okay. All right, technically you're kind of doing that. But just if you look at a kernel in one instant, and then the next instant, it's completely inside out.
Yeah.
And if you didn't tell someone what had just happened, they would think it's two completely different foods.
And, well, see, and that you're absolutely
That's
right.
my only point.
There's nobody who could look at a kernel and then look at a popcorn like flourished and say, "Oh, that came from that."
And it was specifically designed by nature to be absorbent of butter. Okay? So it's the perfect food.
It is.
And almost no calories.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it's all air.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to load up the butter calories. Otherwise, what are you doing?
Yeah, what do you?
Yeah, I tried eating air popcorn without butter. It's like, what am I doing? Why
I
am
kind of
doing
like it.
No.
The question is,
you're
does
lying.
it taco?
Does it what?
What?
Oh,
Does it
you guys
taco?
don't know this? Yes, this is the 21st young generation thing. Can you put this particular food into a taco shell and eat it? Does it actually
Taco
taste
as a
good?
verb.
So
does it taco?
Right. Does it taco?
Yes. Does
Right.
popcorn?
Oh, taco. Well,
Why
popcorn
not?
definitely taco.
Popcorn fit in anything.
Especially if you put a sauce on it.
Do you know what else? Styrofoam also tacos.
Okay.
Popping.
Now, how
packing
somebody
heat.
knows that, I don't even want to know.
Don't we want to ask?
even wanna ask.
Yeah, don't even get
How
it.
do you
Don't
know
go
the-
there.
How do you know the styrofoam tacos?
The edible kind, not
you mean-
not the polystyrene stuff.
You mean
like
the starch popcorn.
the starch-based
Yes.
popcorns that don't kill you if you eat them, right?
Okay, got
But
Right.
they're not really.
Plus, you can put them in the toilet and they just dissolve.
Right, they're designed
Yeah.
to disintegrate. Right? Do they taco? And turns out they do.
Yeah.
How about that?
Nice.
The same is true with popcorn.
Is
You guys-
dissolving the same thing as disintegrate? I don't think so. They just dissolve in water.
But dissolution is a form of disintegration.
I'll give it to you.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Nicely done, fellas. I got to tell you, these guys make even eating a taco that much more exciting.
It is
to
the
listen
joy
to.
of the geekiverse.
Wait.
really
But Chuck, how would you know in advance if you're a 3-year-old whether you're eating the polystyrene
looking
corn or the starch looking corn?
I have the answer to that. When you don't end up in the hospital,
you ate the
you
good
ate the
stuff.
right one.
Thank you,
stuff
Chuck.
that biodegrades. Yeah, as opposed
Thank
to
you,
the
Chuck.
stuff that doesn't.
All right, give us another question.
All right, here we go. Let's get back to our queries that come from all over the internet. This is Bella Marani. Bella Marani says, "Hey,
This is
Chuck."
Bella?
It's actually all. It's
Bella
an
Marani,
Instagram.
one
Bella
word.
Marani is from Bella Mariani.
Oh, Mariani.
Bella Mariani.
Because Bella Morani is like a beautiful moron.
Right. Right. However, Morani is Swahili for warrior as well. So, but
me.
not with the Bella on it.
All right. What do you have?
Here we go. Hey, Chuck, will it one day be possible for entire societies to disguise themselves in plain sight as Wakanda did in the Marvel Universe? How close are we to developing invisibility technology?
So let's get the top presentations of that. So you have the cloaking device on Star Trek.
Yeah.
And also one of the James Bond movies with Daniel Craig. I forgot which one it was called, but it has something called adaptive camouflage. Yeah. So you could park it, and whatever it was in front of, it would bring that pattern to the car, and you'd walk by it, and you just thought you were looking at a normal scene.
Right.
So there's that. There was also cloaking in Chicken Little.
Okay.
Excuse me. Is my cinematic repertoire too large for you?
Probably so. Okay. Anytime you're referencing Chicken Little,
the sky
is falling.
Was not a real sky. They were hexagonal tiles that the aliens had put over the Earth, and the tile is an exact image of what is behind it.
Right.
And when a tile fell down, it fell to the ground, and Chicken Little looked at it and touched it, and it immediately became the floorboards.
Right.
And he put it on the table, it became the table. And so there's 5 minutes of this movie doing experiments with the hexagonal tile.
Sweet.
Love it.
So basically it's cloaking by not becoming invisible, but by becoming what is behind
Camouflaged.
it. But camouflage.
Yeah.
Perfect camouflage.
Perfect
That's one
camouflage.
kind of invisibility.
Sure.
And then you have, what else?
That's unnoticeable.
Don't forget
Unnoticeability. As opposed to,
Unnoticeability.
that's good. That's
So Harry Potter.
Charles has
Harry
invented
Potter,
the words today.
the covering.
I can't take credit for that.
Okay, so the cloak.
The cloak in Harry
You have
Potter.
the cloak in Harry Potter. You have the Invisible Woman, Fantastic Four character, right? Who can turn invisible.
She can turn invisible.
Right.
As well as the
Well, there's the Invisible
the
Man.
Incredibles.
The original Invisible Man.
The original
Right.
Invisible
And the
Man.
original Invisible Man.
So what gets me is, just because he's invisible shouldn't automatically mean he can walk through walls.
No.
Why should
He
it
never
mean
walked
that
through
at all?
walls. What do you mean?
Yes, of course he did.
H.G. Wells, Invisible Man, didn't walk through
No,
walls.
the movie.
He had to walk
no,
naked
I'm talking
through
about
the house,
the guy who was wrapped in a thing and they unwrapped it and he was invisible.
Yeah, he couldn't walk through walls.
He couldn't walk through walls?
No.
You sure?
Not the original
I'm too
Invisible
young
Man.
for this conversation.
No. His problem was also he had to.
Oh, no, I know. I'm confusing it with ghosts
Okay.
who go through walls.
Yeah. Well,
Now, why is it
movie
that-
Ghost, yeah.
Why can you walk through walls but not fall into the basement?
Right. That
They
makes
always leave
sense.
that out.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, why is the floor holding you up but you can walk
but
through
you
a
walk
wall?
the walls.
It
Interesting.
doesn't
point.
make any sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so who else do we have? Invisible Woman.
Invisible Woman.
Yeah.
We got the Harry Potter thing. We
Yeah.
got Star Trek, as you already said.
Cloaking
Cloaking
devices, right?
And then you have the entire city being cloaked, right?
Yes.
With
So
Wakanda.
can we cloak
Yeah.
an entire city?
The
Well, in
answer-
Wakanda, yeah, they did
well,
that.
The answer at the moment is
No. I'm guessing.
Guessing we can't do a city.
yeah.
I'm bet
Going out on a
Chuck,
limb.
let's bet on that one.
Yeah, we're going to go out on a limb here. Can't do a city.
Chuck, can we cloak a whole city?
No. At the moment, the answer is that we can seem to be able to bend light around objects in such a way that the object would not be visible to someone looking at it because all they'd see is the background.
And you don't even know the light is bending.
That's
you
right.
just see the direction the light comes from at the last point of contact.
That's right.
So the light can do a full
360.
360, 180, doesn't matter.
180.
Right.
And you look at if all the light coherently comes around the object,
Right.
again, you've rendered it invisible.
That is, at this moment, only doable in the laboratory under very extreme conditions and sort of at the subatomic level.
Okay.
Basically.
However, Charles,
But I thought
Wait,
I thought DARPA was working on a cloak like
That's
that.
the kind of thing
is that
to
it?
which
Is
I
that what?
refer.
Okay,
I'm not
Go
authorized to speak any further on that. But
not
Chuck,
knowledgeable
here's the
enough to
problem.
speak any further on
The
it.
city is sitting on the ground.
Yes.
You can't bring light from behind the city around it.
Right.
So that technology wouldn't work to hide a city.
Right.
It would only hide objects in front of other things.
Well, in this
But see,
front of
in
a background.
Wakanda, they had it
Right.
was a dome that covered the city as well.
Right.
There was some kind of like force dome that then cloaked the city.
Right. The dome in that case was really just almost a mirror. In a sense, it projected upon itself fake pastoral images of goat herders.
Okay,
and
so it didn't
sheep and
disappear.
things
It's
like
just
that.
a projection screen.
It's just a projection screen, and then you had to get through it, and then you saw all the marvelous technology and so on.
Right. Cool.
So that we can do. We're
That
already
we can do.
projecting movies onto skyscrapers, aren't we?
You know what got me about Wakanda? How is it that down in the town, this is with all this technology and all this stuff, they're still selling woven baskets in the street? What's up with that?
I believe it's very simple.
What?
Because they realize they essentially have infinite wealth and infinite technology.
Yeah.
What makes them happy? It's not the toys.
Baskets.
It's baskets.
Baskets.
I totally get
baskets.
that. I would much rather make a basket and
Look at the
enjoy that
workmanship
basket
on this basket.
than point my finger and I have this sort of virtual basket made of vibranium that's gonna bring
I
me
want a
peanuts.
basket made of vibranium.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I would appreciate that too if it were artistic and beautiful.
No, I'm going to tell you the truth. I want a bowl. I want an actual bowl. I don't want a basket.
But baskets are beautiful.
Yeah,
But
baskets
that's
are
the
beautiful.
point. I think it shows a very interesting utopia. Right?
Actually, in
Where-
the song, there's a hole in the bucket,
Dear Liza.
dear Liza. The solution to that is to repair it with straw.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
And I'm thinking, why would straw hold water? I was just thinking that when I heard that song.
If it's woven tightly enough.
That's right.
Yeah.
You think so?
There are many waterproof straw things that the people before using metal.
I was just
would
thinking,
use.
is there any other way you can plug this hole?
Right.
Weld. I'm thinking technology, science. And no, let's get straw. Okay.
Because the straw's right there.
I guess so.
Because if you got to do the wood, you got to hammer it down, or you got to weld the. Pin.
Okay. I just thought they would have a more permanent solution than just straw.
Right.
And there's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza.
All Georgie wanted was to carry a little water from here to there. Why, bring out vibranium for that?
And then they said, how will I cut the straw? And they say, with an axe?
No,
That's-
with a knife.
Either.
Yeah.
Why do you have to,
Yeah,
I think that the original song has axe.
an axe.
Yeah.
A little overkill for straw, I think.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. The whole song didn't make sense. I stopped listening to it. Okay. Good. What were you saying, Chuck? Last bit on invisibility. And we'll
Yeah.
go to the next question.
Last bit is that I think that when we think about invisibility, we want to be able to take it with us. The motion of being invisible is more important than just being able to render something not visible from any
In a static plot.
In a static
spot.
plot. So
And this is the value that Harry Potter had.
that's right.
Right.
And
You go wherever the cloak is.
And so that's really the most important thing right now. The
Mm-hmm.
technology is not just to make something not visible, but to make something not visible as it moves around to everybody
Yeah.
from every point.
And from and in fact, the lab experiments you're describing, it is only invisible from one
direction.
one exact direction.
Correct.
Right. Because the optics only conspire for that point of view,
Okay.
not from the side. Yeah.
That's
Nice.
where we start.
Yeah. Okay. We'll start there.
All right, there you
Oh,
have
by the
it.
way, one other thing.
Go ahead.
Militaristically, invisibility just means you're not reflecting a radar signal back.
Which we already
source,
have that. It's
which
called
we already-
stealth
it's called
technology.
stealth. So that is a kind of invisibility that accomplishes what the Star Trek stealth things were doing,
Right.
but in a militaristic sense. So yeah,
Right. All right, here we go.
another DARPA project that was, by the way.
Stealth was a DARPA?
I think so.
Nice.
Yeah, we can verify that. We got top crack researchers here.
Yeah.
Defense Advanced Research Project.
Are there
Agency.
any other technology?
And it was Lockheed that did that.
I don't. I do know it was Lockheed, but are there any other technological applications for stealth technology? That's redundant, but are there any other applications for stealth technology outside of absorbing radar that we might find in life?
Well, sure.
Well, it's not just absorbing radar, absorb all electromagnetic
Right.
rays.
Yeah.
So whatever might be your
Anything you're shooting at it,
Shooting at it, right.
and also but not all of it, because some of it has to do with the shape of the plane too.
Everything has to do with the shape.
Yeah, that causes it to
The
to
material-
flow over.
it's the material, the shape.
Right.
The B-2 bomber, which looks like a bat plane, the shape is because when the radar signal does reflect, it doesn't reflect back to the direction it
Okay.
was sent from.
So it doesn't reflect; it deflects.
It deflects. It
Right.
deflects. And there are multiple reflections within the physical body. You don't want any of them going back to where it's going. They now have stealth Navy ships. And you look at their shape, it's like, oh, that's a funky kind of
Yeah,
shape.
I've seen them.
Right.
Yeah, they're very cool looking.
Yeah, and the masts have certain shapes,
Right.
just to minimize and reduce the radar cross section.
Yeah. So it's just like, oh, it's a lost whale, and it's just like, why is that lost whale shooting a torpedo at us? Cool.
Yeah. All right, next.
All right, here we go. This is Yusel Lopez.
What's the first name?
Yusel.
Usul. Okay.
Yeah, or Yussel.
Well,
I mean,
Usul was the name of the character.
Is it Jesse or Jussie?
Usul was the name of the character.
Yussel?
Usul, the character in Dune by Frank Herbert. It was the nickname given by the Fremen to Paul Atreides.
Damn.
Usul.
Damn,
You were
Chuck.
too good, Chuck. I'm telling you, man.
We are unworthy.
Yes.
We are unworthy. I saw the movie. The book was too thick for me to read.
Oh.
And I saw the movie in the
Really?
80s. Yeah.
I saw the movie first.
I got to tell you,
and
I
then
didn't read the book, and the movie was too damn long. So
The movie should have been longer.
What I like was they have their language translator where it's this thing you put in front and you speak and out the other side.
Right.
But now our iPhones do that. So,
I know.
yeah.
It's pretty wild. All right, here we go. This is what Yusel or Yussel Lopez says. This is specifically for you, Neil, but I'd like to know what Chuck thinks about the answer should be. So a couple episodes back, there was a reference to the bat signal, and a guest jokingly mentioned that Neil should have a Neil signal. I'm curious, Dr. Tyson, what would your Neil signal in the night sky be?
Oh, that's easy. Yeah. Yeah. We already have one of these. There's a web page on Amazon that sells sanctioned T-shirts that are designed by fans but inspired by my work or my words or my image.
Okay.
But it's all sanctioned and the fans get a fee and everything. Everybody's happy. And one of them is just simply a silhouette of my hairline
Right.
and a mustache. That's it.
That's the Neil signal.
and that's kind of me, right? 'Cause
Right.
I got this sort of widow's peak
You got to
thing.
right. You
Right.
very Eddie Munster, your hairline.
No, but the Eddie Munster came to a point.
right.
Mine is
No,
just-
yours is natural though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's a, and I think when I see that, I think of myself abstracted. So, and you want a simple iconography for the
Right.
bat signal. So the Neil signal, in case you get stuck in an argument with a flat earther and you need help,
You just send up the hairline and the mustache.
the mustache.
and
I'm there.
Dr. Tyson will not show up to your house, so but he'll solve the argument for you.
Yeah.
No, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
All right, Chuck, what would you think it would be?
I think it would be a ball in a box. The iconic structure of the Hayden Planetarium and
the
Rose Center for Earth and Space.
Oh,
See, your silhouette is great, but it's a little too detailed.
No, what
a
we
little bit of clouds, and you look like Bozo the Clown.
Yeah, you're right.
So you have to have basic shapes that are immediately recognizable. And when we
And
look,
if we do that,
Uh-huh.
so it's because the Rose Center for Earth and Space is a glass cube
Yeah.
and a ball inside
inside.
containing the Hayden Planetarium.
Correct, yeah.
That iconography would mean if I'm not available, we get some of our other staff.
there you go. Tremendous.
It's just that you need an
talent.
astrophysicist to help settle your argument. It
Now
doesn't
you-
have to be me.
Now
I don't
you-
have unique knowledge in this world.
Now I'm going back to the hairline and the mustache.
What?
Because you know somebody's just like, let's call Neil, and they put up the ball in the box, right? And all of a sudden, like just some intern shows up.
Hayden
Hey,
Planetarium
guys.
doesn't have just.
Hey guys, what do you
something.
need?
But we got badass interns, let me just say.
No, you do.
Okay.
This is true.
All right.
Nah. All right, but I like the ball in the box. Very, very, very
All
thoughtful.
right. All right, Chuck, what's the next question?
Okay, here we go. This is Daniel J. Lay, and he says, this is for Chuck and Neil. What superpower would you like to have that could be theoretically enabled by gene editing? Ooh.
Good one. Very very X-Man.
Yes.
On that one, I have an answer, Chuck. Do you have an answer?
I do.
We don't have time to give it. We got to go to break. All right, we'll go to break. We'll take a break. And when we come back, Chuck and I will argue about what genes we will edit to try to get some kind of superhero superpowers when Startalk returns. This episode of Startalk is brought to you by CuriosityStream. Startalk, we're back. Tyson here. Chuck Lou there. Chuck Nice there. Charles Lou, Chuck Nice.
Chuck Lou Charles
That's right.
You tweet, don't you, occasionally?
at Chuck Lou at CHUCKLIU.
See, he does use Chuck.
Yeah,
at
Chuck Lou, Liu.
yeah. It's just because Charles Lou is already taken. So,
Oh, that's too bad.
well, no, it's actually better. It reminds me of my college roots.
Okay. All right. And you are
At Chuck Nice Comic.
Chuck Nice
That's
Comic.
my name and what I do.
You actually have to tell people you're a comic.
Well, I'm not
That means your
good
tweets
at
were
it.
not.
I'm not that good at it. just in case you forgot.
It's like, what is this tweet? He's a comedian.
Right. By the way, it was originally Chuck Nice Black Comic, but I figured, okay, one of them is They'll figure it out.
He also has another tweet. He also has another Twitter handle that he doesn't publicize so much. It's at Chuck Nice Go-Go Dancer.
Is that right?
No, that's not right.
Sorry.
No, I thought I saw that. That was you.
That was just for you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
All right, so read this question again.
Okay,
we
so
left off.
right before we went to the break, Daniel J. Lay asked a great question for Neil and Charles. What superpower would you like to have that could be theoretically enabled by gene editing?
Okay.
Ooh.
Chuck, you go first. Charles, you go
Okay.
first.
I would say, and I know this might seem a little goofy, but with gene editing, the best thing that I could hope for myself is that my genes make it so that I will stay as mentally and physically in perfect health as long as I want.
It's not a superpower.
It is immortality, but it's healthy immortality. And so-
Superpower is somebody's in distress and you go help them.
yes,
Yeah.
if I am
And he's
immortal,
like this. I'm going to stand here and watch you
Watch you die while I live forever.
live forever.
no,
Charles.
if I am immortal, then I will have the opportunity to learn all the medical technology, all of the information over the centuries and the millennia, and that way I will be able to help people not by being some crazy guy
Wait,
in a costume.
Medical
but-
knowledge over the centuries includes like bloodletting
Yes.
and this sort of thing.
Well, and it depends on whether that bloodletting is worth keeping or not.
Okay.
right? But for example, these days, medical people actually use leeches
Yeah, I
to
know.
help get rid of hematomas.
Get rid of
and things like
bad
that.
blood.
That's right.
Right.
Uh-huh. So I
Excuse me, hematoma.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I want to make it so that I have great value to society without my having to stand out as some sort of a beacon or a flag post.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So I think
No,
that is
but all right.
I think it's a tremendous
Okay,
superhero.
Charles, no one is making a movie about that.
Maybe not. Oh, well, there was The Fountain.
It's the man who
There was The
reads.
Fountain.
Fountain of Youth? Yeah.
Yeah, that
okay.
was the one that Darren Aronofsky put together.
Yeah.
Starring Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
That's the brother of Hugh Jackman? Yeah, okay.
All right, Niels, what would yours be? So Charles is
So-
going to live forever.
I've thought about this actually. And if gene editing is what is allowed, because the X-Men stuff is extreme.
Yeah.
You're not going to edit your genes and spit fire. That's not
Right.
going to happen. But what you're allowed to do is ask the animal kingdom, what are the things that are exhibited in all the animals of the world? Because we all have DNA in common. And I'm going to say, give me some of that. Okay.
Animal Man.
So what I would do is I'd say, give me genes that a snake has where I can open my mouth 5 times bigger than my head. So I can finally eat the sandwich at the deli, pastrami sandwich at the deli. Okay, but that's not a superpower. That's just that I want to throw that in there. Just for that. Okay.
Right, okay.
Snakes can detect in infrared.
Okay.
Okay, insects can see deeply in the ultraviolet,
Right.
Which is why bug zappers work because they're ultraviolet. And they said, I got to go to the ultraviolet, and then they die. So I want to be able to see infrared, see ultraviolet. Also, I want to be able to gene edit other people so that I can help regenerate the limbs of veterans who lost limbs defending this country.
Cool.
And newts can regenerate limbs.
Right, exactly.
Humans can't. It is in the genome of the tree of life to regenerate limbs. And so I want to be able to have that to then impart that in fellow humans. And so that everybody gets their limbs back. That's for me, that's it's not superpower, but it's a power that I think would be greatly valued.
Being able to regenerate limbs. That's a pretty good
No.
power.
Right.
It's a great power. And,
Right.
and again, no one's going to make a movie out of that, but people will take a look and what? You explained that no one make a movie out of my power. It's true. But notice that the two of us were thinking about powers that like
Help humanity.
don't like turn us into like these godlike creatures, right?
Right.
That do stuff to people, but rather that allow us to be part of the society that matters. Because that's sort of, in a sense, that's kind of what the impulse of science is. I don't know. Did you?
Yes, I agree.
I mean, that's what we're thinking about.
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
if there's a way to think about superpowers, maybe that's the best way to do it, where we can create the powers. You know, we have these folks going out and fighting cosmic villains or anything like that. But why not take some of that wonderful technology and heal people? Like in Black Panther, for example, when the Black Panther's sister saves the life of that gentleman that was working with them. their super technology was being used for good and used for a societal benefit. That's the kind of thing we do.
Well, I'm going with super strength and sprouting wings like a beetle so that I don't have wings all the time because, that probably get on my nerves when I'm trying to sleep.
Oh, so you want wings that tuck in under an exoskeleton?
Under an exoskeleton, pop out when I want to fly, and then super strength. And by the way, I'm not helping anybody. I'm going on a life of crime.
So you'd be a super villain.
I'd be a super villain, without a doubt. And then you guys could figure out a way to stop me.
You would be called Kafka Man.
Kafka Man?
Yeah.
No, that was a cockroach, not a beetle.
You don't think so?
What?
In Kafka, that was a cockroach. Oh my gosh.
Well,
that wasn't a beetle.
That's your interpretation.
Excuse me, that was a cockroach, wasn't it?
I don't know Kafka Man.
I thought I read that. Kafka. You didn't read the story. It's a short story.
No, I didn't
by
read
Franz Kafka.
Yeah. No, I don't think. No,
Everybody read that story.
No, I don't believe I have.
I thought you were an educated man.
No, I'm not.
Chuck, how can I fight? I'm trying to fight you, Chuck. I'm not supposed to agree with that.
It's an abstract commentary on the dehumanization of man.
Okay, I'm going to read it tonight.
Metamorphosis.
The Metamorphosis.
Definitely read it. It's short. It's a short story.
I'm sure. Yeah,
But you read it in like 9th grade, Chuck.
Right.
Okay.
I probably read it and don't even know that I read it, to be honest. Okay, well, there you have it. All right, listen, that was interesting. All right. Oh, wait.
So a guy goes to bed and he wakes up as a cockroach, and his
As
thoughts.
a beetle.
Don't make me. And he has thoughts about what that means, and it's just kind of it's a meditation.
And the reaction
right.
of his family members to him.
Yeah, it's a
Also
meditation
very
on
interesting.
a thing.
It's an existential story.
Yeah, exactly.
That questions what is your life. I get it. All right, here we go. Let's go to Vaughn Murray. Actually, he is a Patreon patron.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry that it took this long to get to your question.
Okay. That wasn't right. All right, Vaughn, here you go. This is what he says. Dear Startalk experts and Chuck.
That's cold.
That was cold. That was cold, man. Why you got to do that, bro?
That's cold.
Yeah, why you go there like
Why
that?
you got to go there? Yeah.
Damn. Treat me like I'm Kafka Man. All right, here we go. My friend and I got into a space discussion about future starship design. Sci-fi franchises like to make use of the simulated gravity on starships and space stations by way of centrifugal force or centrifugal
Rotating
force,
section.
which is a rotation section, in a habitat section. We all know what they are. Okay, as earliest evidence in 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? Okay. Would it be realistic to use this idea for long-term space travel? So,
Yep.
Okay.
there you go. And next question. Vaughn, there's your answer.
The point is, there's
works.
all this research on the medical effects of zero-G, none of which would be necessary if our long-term spaceships had
Just
rotating habitats.
Right.
And you don't have to be in there 100% of the time, but you go in there to get your sea legs back, and you lift weights, you do whatever.
And your bone density stays the same, everything, because you're... So now how fast would I have to spend to give you 1G?
It depends
which
on the
is
radius.
where we are.
It depends on the radius.
So the radius
entirely. So you'd have to. So the smaller the radius, the faster
it has to spin. Right. And the larger the radius, the slower it
you
can
want
go.
to make it as big as
Big as possible.
Right. And remember, in space, since there's no air resistance.
Wait, why do you have to make it as big as small? Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Oh, if it's small, then your inner ear has issues with the rotation.
If it's small, if you are large relative to the size of the thing, but I'm saying if it's still big relative to you,
Right.
then the size doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
Doesn't
but
matter.
it's got to get to that size.
But I'm sure there's a particular size that's going to give you the 1G, right?
No,
For your
any
size.
Any size. In fact, do this, right?
Go ahead.
Take a bucket of water and swing it fast enough over your head so that it
Right.
doesn't fall out. That's
it's
one
1G.
No,
That's
that
one-
could be 0G. It could be weightless
Right.
up there. It doesn't have to be 1G.
Could be.
That's right. So I take that back.
Right.
Sorry. Bad example.
No,
No, you're right.
But I'm just saying.
Because that's what happens on a roller coaster when you go...
Yeah. You go. You're weightless
You're
at the
weightless
top.
at the top.
Right.
The relevant formula is that centripetal
Oh no! Wait a minute!
acceleration
Wait! This would work. This would work.
is v squared over
No. Watch. This would work because if it is 0G at the top and it's not falling out,
Right.
that would be 1G if I were in 0G.
Sure.
You lost me, man. I'm sorry.
No. So the force up is now counteracting the force
Force
down
down.
because we're doing this experiment in 1G.
Right. So the cancellation, so that is 1G.
That's where 0G is the thing. But in
space.
space, it would be 1G in
1G.
space.
Okay.
Right. So the point is, it's not hard to figure out the speed.
Right.
By the way, you wouldn't even need 1G. You can do 8.8G. You can get ready for the next planet you visit. Mars is 38% out.
of our
so
gravity.
You can change the rotation to get accustomed to being on Mars. It could be a very fun, interesting exercise.
The equation is that centripetal acceleration equals velocity squared divided by the radius of rotation.
Okay.
So all you do is measure how
far it is,
and then
and
how
then
fast you spin.
that's it.
How fast you have to
Push
spin.
it and let it
And
go.
by the way, I did the calculation for the rotating section in 2001.
Ah,
Okay. And they rotated that 3 times too fast.
Really?
Yes.
So people were really bulking up.
No. So
It was a heavy gravity space station.
They were getting ready to get to Jupiter.
no. Here's the thing. Okay, they surely knew what speed it would have to be 1G.
Right.
It was already rotating slowly.
Right. So it was too boring for the camera.
Too boring for the
That's
camera.
really what it is. It's too
you
boring
want it
for
to
the
be
camera.
stately, but still doing
Right.
something. So this rate, where they match the rotation of the shuttle to
Right.
go into the station, that's 3G.
Right.
And I said to myself, if you slow this down by a factor of 3,
You're not
or
doing
whatever the
anything.
root 3, whatever the number is, you're
You got a terrible boring shot.
It's a slow, boring movie.
Right.
So I gave it to him.
yeah.
Okay.
Gave it to him.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought that they were trying to get some extra
No.
resistance work in, while they were heading to the moon.
Oh, that's cool.
All right, next question.
All right, that was actually a really cool question. All right, even though. All right, here we go. Ooh, Greg Vaughn. We went from Vaughn Murray to Greg Vaughn, coming to us from Instagram. This.
Oh, wait, one other thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Before we get back,
Sorry.
to the G.
Yeah. So if you don't have rotating sections, then you need to invent something that shuts off gravity.
Right.
And we know of no such thing. Okay. We're not even close to knowing such a thing.
In any sci-fi film where they go enact artificial gravity, it's just in other words they're saying enact the BS. Turn on the BS so that we don't float, so that we don't float around.
Now, I don't mean to boast.
Captain, the BS is not working.
I don't mean to boast.
Go ahead.
But I had a cameo in Ice Age 5.
All right.
Wait, and in
That
Ice
is
Age 5,
definitely not a boast,
the
sir.
Scrat, or that little
The little squirrel-looking thing.
squirrel chipmunky thing.
Right.
He's on a ship. There's a scene. It's like a throwaway scene. It's not relevant to what's going on down on Earth. But he accidentally hits the gravity changer knob because
Right.
he's just accidentally doing stuff.
Right.
And there's like a scene where it's like 20G. And he's flat on the ground, and he can't. He's lifting up his top jaw, and he can't. I mean, they're very creative about how it would be in the high, as you change the G's. But anyhow, I just want to say,
I love that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, guys, we've got only 1 minute left. Chuck, you got a fast one.
Okay,
Go.
here's the fast one. Greg Vaughn wants to know this. Is there a real quantum realm?
Oh, that's a reference to Ant-Man.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
it is.
Can you shrink down so
So
far
far.
that you have a whole new universe which doesn't follow the laws of anything and get trapped in there for decades and things like that?
Well, there is a quantum realm. The question is, can you function as a normal person in a quantum realm?
The answer is you can't, of course.
Why you got to
of
be
course.
like that?
No.
Why you got to be like that?
But the bottom line is, yes, there is such a thing as a quantum realm.
There
Whether
is-
we can actually do something in it, completely different story.
So the Tompkins in Wonderland series.
Oh,
Did you know the Tompkins in Wonderland?
no.
Written by George Gamow. So George Gamow wrote a series, a famous physicist,
Okay.
a mid-century, 20th century
Helped
physicist.
to figure out the theoretical underpinnings of the Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Made the first prediction of the cosmic microwave background. And he said it would be 5 degrees, and it turned out to be 3 degrees. The idiot.
What the hell did he know? God. What a loser.
George is rolling in his grave. Way to go, Neil. All right. Okay.
So anyhow, so he had a series of stories where he changed the physical constants of nature in those stories. So in one of them, the speed of light was 60 miles an hour.
Wow.
So there you are driving down the street, and then he describes how things change.
That's cool.
And another one, you can change Planck's constant.
Oh.
Nice.
And so then as you walk,
quantum realm
the quantum
changes.
realm changes. So you walk through a door, and you diffract
Right.
walking through a door. All the things that happen to particles happen to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
That's very cool. And so, but Ant-Man, I think they had to make up a bunch of stuff in order to let that story roll. But I'm glad they used the word quantum.
Yeah.
That's all.
Oh, okay.
And they almost use it right.
Almost. They use it right enough to get you to go see the movie.
Exactly.
It shows that they have some concern.
concept.
Some concern for this. And more broadly, the Marvel Universe, as we know, many of those superheroes were once scientists.
Correct.
Yeah, Dr. Banner,
Right.
even Spider-Man, he was in his science class.
Well, they all screw themselves up while they're doing an experiment that goes horribly wrong.
I'm just saying that science matters there in ways that it doesn't seem to matter in the DC universe.
Okay.
Ooh, blood drawn. All right, we got to wrap this up. Star Talk. Charles Liu, thanks, as always,
pleasure.
for
Thank
being
you
on the
so
show.
much.
Chuck Nice,
Always a pleasure.
my man.
You know it.
I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, your personal astrophysicist. We are signing off Star Talk. As always, I bid you to keep looking up.
Thanks to CuriosityStream for supporting this episode of Star Talk. Are you a sci-fi fanatic? Then you gotta watch Phenomenon on CuriosityStream. They look at the legions of women that make up a huge subculture in the sci-fi fandom community. Learn about a journey to meet a TV hero, the friendships made along the way, and the astronomical amount of money spent to fuel fandoms. You can watch it for just $2.99 per month. And if you go to curiositystream.com/StarTalk and use code StarTalk, your first 31 days are free. Go there right now. With over 2,400 documentary features and series to enjoy, it is a great deal.